Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we are doing a Make Up Your Mind. Now, this Make Up Your Mind is pretty exciting, and I think a lot of you guys are excited for this palette like I am. I mean, we've been waiting for this palette for such a long time. I think you know where I'm going with this. We're doing a Make Up Your Mind on the brand new Natasha Denona Midi Retro. So you guys know I did a whole video telling you guys that this palette was coming out. So a lot of you guys probably know that I am doing my 1 year, 1 brand, the year of Natasha Denona for 2021. So you know already that I'm picking this palette up. Actually, I already pre-ordered it, so it should be here soon. Hopefully she ships out her pre-orders early. I've heard she's done that before, so I'm crossing my fingers for that. But I'm not gonna skip my Make Up Your Mind just because I know I'm gonna pick this up, because a lot of you guys requested this video. A lot of you guys wanna see what I can find in my collection, so I can kind of give you guys an idea of what the color story may look like, because honestly, it's kind of fun just to go through my collection and kind of try to see what this palette is going to look like, and actually see if it looks like any of my current palettes. So yeah, we're gonna do it on the Midi Retro, even though we kind of know the answer on whether I'm going to pick it up or not. If you are new to Make Up Your Mind, I have an entire playlist where I do this. Guys, I think it's been almost 2 years that I have been doing Make Up Your Minds, which is completely insane. I can't even believe it's been almost 2 years. When a brand new eyeshadow palette releases, I go through my collection and try to mimic it based off of the swatches to get an idea if it's even a palette I want to pick up. I kind of swatch different colors, I test looks on my eyes, and I tell you guys at the end of the video whether I think it's a palette worth it to me to pick up. And during this series, we have literally found some really interesting things, like palettes that look so similar to other palettes, and even palettes that in the packaging just didn't look like it would call my attention. But when I laid out the colors on my arm, I actually said, wow, this is really pretty. So Midi Retro, it's time for you. You did not escape the Make Up Your Minds, and let's go ahead and let's get into it. But if you have not subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and join the family. I talk a lot about Natasha Denona, so if you're watching this video, you probably like her too. So yeah, join the family, hit the button. Let's get into this right now. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start off with the results. I always show you guys what I came up with in the beginning of the video. So this is what I came up with. This is as close as I can get to her swatches. Now, quick little Natasha Denona disclaimer. Her swatches tend to be a little deeper than they end up turning out in the palette. So I thought of that a little bit while I was doing this. I really wish I could wait for her swatches to come out. I think she's gonna talk about it today or tomorrow, but because the palette's on its way to me, I don't wanna wait too long. So I'm gonna do it now. Yeah, I have to say, like, how do I say this? It's not that this is the most, how do I say this? This is not the most innovative palette, to be honest. Like, I love retro, love the idea of retro, and it's all going to depend on the formula, I think, in this case, and maybe some of those metallics, because when it comes to some of the mattes and some of the colors, it is something that we have kind of seen, at least from these swatches. So let me show you guys the palettes that I went into. So one of the ones that was heavily dug into was the Naughty Nudes from Huda Beauty. Believe it or not, this palette had a lot of the hues that I actually needed to use. So I actually jumped into this quite a few times, but that one wasn't the only one. Also, the Huda Beauty New Nude gave me some other shades. Like, I almost feel like this palette is a combination of these two. Like, if they had like a baby with a few other colors, this would be the palette. And believe it or not, I actually added in Midi Retro just for one color that I thought was a little bit more accurate in that palette. And then to round out the palette, she does include 3 shades that are already in Lila. So I did jump into Lila. So if you read the shade names do match identically to the ones that are in the Lila palette. So, I mean, I don't know if she has actually said yet that they are repeat shades, but the shade names are the same. So we are gonna include those 3. So really the stars of the show here are these 2. So anyways, let's go ahead and let's get to swatching, and let's start off with the very first color. All right, so we're gonna start off with the first color, and the first color is a repeat shade from Lila. So this is not going to be, so this should be exact. this color should be exact. I mean, there's a chance that it won't be, but it should be exact. So it's this color called Amara. If you look at the shade name, it is called Amara, and Amara is in Lila. So it looks just like this. It is kind of like a burgundy brown. It's a very pretty deep tone, and I really like this color. When I swatched this color, this one looked pretty close to her swatch. Not like perfect though, but it has to be this color because everybody is saying that this is repeated as well as the name being exactly the same. So I'm assuming this is the color, and this is a very pretty color. I do like this color inside of the Lila palette, and this is like one of those really buttery mattes. So if it's the same formula, same color, it's a beautiful color. And if you don't have Lila, it's awesome to have it. If you have Lila, you're gonna have a lot of it. Because now you're gonna have it in the midi, and you also have it in the bigger size palette. So I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really love it when brands do repeat shades. Maybe like one shade that's like amazing, but whatever. So that one is repeated from Lila. Then the next one is another repeat from Lila. So it is Helio right here. So it does say Helio. It's the exact same shade name. And this one does not look super close to the swatch that she released. So the swatch on the website literally looks more silver, and maybe it's just the direction that the photo was taken, but this is supposed to be Hilo. And that one's a little different from the swatches, which that kind of frustrates me when brands do that. You know, like I really want the swatches to match up to the colors, and it really is not that difficult to do. So the next one I jumped into Naughty Nude. Now this one I'm pretty sure it's gonna be close to this. It's gonna be close to this color called Spicy right here. So this is one of those really deep plummy brown colors. I think it's gonna be very similar to this because off the swatch, it looks almost identical, and I just feel like this is like one of those colors that a lot of brands love to put inside of their like purpley tone palettes. So it would make sense for it to be this color, maybe even a little richer, maybe even a little deeper, but similar to this. So we already see here, this is a very Naughty Nude direction, maybe a tad lighter as it continues to go on. Okay, so here's another one. This one also is from Lila. So if you have Lila, apparently the color Nude Mauve, which is this one right here, is the next color. And this one also does not look so much like the swatch, because as I looked at the swatch, this color looks like a peach in the swatch. I think what I'm gonna do is after I film this video and she releases her live swatches, I'm gonna recompare these because this color is just like, I don't get it, right? So this is what it looks like, and that is what I picked. Okay, so the next color is not supposed to be in Lila, but when I was trying to match up the colors, I ended up going with this color right here, and it's from Lila, and it's like a purple. Now the reason that I picked this one is because it's a little bit lighter of a purple, and I just feel like it probably would match well. It looks similar to the swatch, but I still have a little bit of wiggle room there, so I think it's gonna be something similar to this. And overall, this is looking like a very nice, soft, mauve-y toned palette. I don't know if it's really what I would envision in retro, you know, but that's in the direction that I feel like it's going. So then we go into Naughty Nude, and now this one, what I ended up doing was I went into the color Irresistible, but I actually added a little bit of Desire on top just to give it a little bit more of a pinky hue. So that is it without the little pink. Then I just jumped into this color Desire, just dabbed in it a little bit just to add a little bit more pink. I think it's gonna go in a little pinkier direction. Now, if you guys look at the eye look that I created today, this eye look is mimicking this look that Natasha posted today. So I used all my palettes that I'm showing you today to create this look, which is very similar to what she created. So, and that is using these colors. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's Christina Brooke Beauty. I'm gonna have this up on a little reel over there as well. So this is where we're going. I like this palette. I mean, I really liked the Naughty Nude. I actually ended up not using the Naughty Nude as much as I thought I would. I hope that's not like a telling of how much I'm gonna use retro. I'm actually hoping that retro's slightly lighter. So then the next color I jumped into was called Juicy. So it's this color right here, and I think it might look like this one. This is a really pretty, almost brown with a little hint of peachy pink. It looks deeper in the pan than when you swatch it. And I think that's gonna look similar to what she's releasing. It matches up pretty close, but I think this one had a little bit more peach in it. But since I know that her swatches are a little off, I kind of just gauged it with my eye, how I thought it would look. And I think it might look similar to that. And pretty. So the next one actually has me a little confused. Now, I think, honestly, like if you look at retro, do you remember this first pink color right here? I think it's gonna be like really similar to this pink color. So I'm just gonna use this color because I believe it's gonna look so similar to it that I'm just gonna put it in there. I think the new one's gonna have a little bit more gold in it with pink from the swatch, but I'm gonna just put this color because I felt like it was the one that matched up the most. So it's gonna be like this kind of idea and really pretty lighter pinky toned topper shade. I see a really good amount of depth in here. So we have some lighter shades, we have some good deepening shades, we have some pretty metallics. I love the direction of the palette. It looks really, really pretty. So then the next color I actually got from Lila. So I think it's gonna look similar to this color called Layla inside of Lila. So now Layla actually is kind of like a satiny formula, but I don't have anything like this color in a matte, and I think hers is gonna be more of a matte. But this almost looks like a matte, and really we're just trying to see color here, and it matches up really good to her swatch. So I'm thinking it's gonna be like a very similar color to this Layla color, just in like a matte format, which is good. I don't really have this color. It's so deep in the Lila palette that I typically do not use it that often because I want to put in the outer edge, but I don't like that slight sheen it has. So if this is a matte, I'm actually gonna like it better. I did use this one on my outer edge just to elongate my eye a little bit. So I like the color. I just would probably prefer it in a matte. So now the next tone I also got from the Naughty Nude. I jumped into this color called Untamed. I believe from the swatch that this one is actually gonna have more of like that mauve-y purple tone. So something similar to this, right? So we've got one that's super, super rich and deep, and then this one that is gonna be a little bit on the lighter side, so it's not gonna be as deep. It's still gonna be like mauve-ish, but I think it's gonna be like lighter. Like this one is going to be almost purple, very deep, and then this one is going to be lighter mauve. I believe that that's gonna be how it looks based off the swatch. And yeah, this looks very much to me like the actual palette when you look at the image of it. This is looking very similar. So I think it probably will be a color similar to that. That's a nice deepening shade, but if you wanna do a look that you don't wanna go super dramatic, like if you're using one of these in the outer edge, you might get pretty heavy. Instead of using something like that, you can use like this one and it will keep the look a little bit airier. So I like it. So this one I'm gonna go out there and say it's gonna be pinker than I think it is in the swatch. So I went into this color Filthy, which is the first color in the Huda Beauty palette, and I'm just gonna say it's gonna be similar to that. Now this one may be a little bit more skin toned, but I don't know. I don't know why I feel like that one might be a little pinker than the swatch looks. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say that it's going more in this direction. So that's what I'm gonna go with. That one actually, not sure if that one's gonna be 100% correct, but we'll see when she releases her date. When she releases her swatches today, I'm gonna check that one. But I think it's gonna look similar to that. So next one, I think it's gonna look like this. So if you go into Huda Beauty, there's this color called Bear that's here up on the top, and it's actually like a white, but it actually has pink in it. So it's like a white pink. It's mostly white. It's mostly like cream, but it has like a pink undertone to it. I think it's gonna look like that one because that's what the swatch looks like. Okay, so the next one, this is another one that I decided to go with something that I think might look similar because in the swatch, it almost looks gray, right? But I don't think that this could be gray. I almost feel like this is going to be a brownish gray. And the only color that I could find that looks similar to it was this color called Please Me inside of the Huda Beauty Naughty palette. So this one I took a little creative freedom on and I added this one in. Now this one, like I said, this one actually might be a little bit more gray, but I think it's gonna have a little bit more brown in it. And also, if it has a little bit more gray, I mean, I could jump into something like the Wild Obsessions and grab a little bit of this first color and just like put it on top, maybe to see it a little bit better. But I do feel like this is gonna be the most unique shade in the palette. I have a feeling that this is gonna be one that we're gonna think is so beautiful. So look, if I add that gray right on top, I think it will look a little bit more like that with the gray on top. It's going to be a pretty shade. I have a feeling that one is going to be very, very beautiful. I don't know if it's going to shift, but I'm intrigued by that shade, okay? So the next one, I jumped into New Nude, and I jumped into this purpley shade. I do think that the Natasha one, might be a little bit darker, but then again, I don't really know because from her swatches, I can't really tell anymore. A nice purpley blending shade, you could put that all over the lid, mix it with some of these metallic shades, and you can do really pretty soft looks with that. So versatility is there. Okay, so then the last color, I went into the New Nude, and I went into this color called Daydream right here, and it's almost like a very light pink that almost has a little bit of like a violety peach to it. And I think it's gonna be like that, like almost like a baby pink. It reminds me a lot of the Midi Retro. So I think it's gonna look like that color. That's a beautiful color. I would love to see that in Natasha's formula. But that rounds out what I believe, based off of the swatches that Natasha has released, this is probably what the Midi Retro is going to look like, okay? Based off of these swatches, if you have this palette here, you may wanna wait for some of the reviews if you like this palette. Only because I felt like this palette was something I kept going to. Do I think that the colors are going to be spot on dupes? Maybe not, but on the lids, once you blend everything together, even if it's not a spot on dupe, you can create a look that looks almost the same. So I don't know, would you want to buy a palette that almost has very similar colors? That would be up to you. Me personally, I don't care because I really love Natasha Denona's formulas. I like to have her formula in colors that I already own because I love her formula. If it was another brand and I had a palette like Natasha's, I don't know if I would do it. If this palette had come out before this one, I may have not picked this one up because I was like, I have Natasha. But you know, that's personal preference. I really love Natasha's formula. So I personally think that the color story is pretty. I think that this is going to be useful, especially if you're somebody who likes mauve-y looking lids. If you're somebody who likes also like the Pat McGrath, you know, like rose stuff, but you always thought that it was a little bit too rosy, this would be like the toned down version of that. Like this is like the Divine Rose, the non super bright and powerful rose edition. Like this is the lighter mauve rose. And I think that this is more my direction. Like if Pat McGrath had released a Divine Rose that looked like this one, like more like Divine Rose 1 was, I would like it. So I like this palette. I think I could probably use this palette a lot. The only thing that concerns me is that I have a very similar palette to it and I don't use this one that much. And I don't know why. Maybe I don't love the formula of this. There has to be a reason why I don't grab this one that much. There has to be a reason. I guess we're gonna find out once I get this palette, because if I start using this palette like all the time, then I would figure that there's something wrong with this palette, that I don't like it. I don't love that there's 3 shades here that are in Lila already. Don't love that. I really wish it was just like a crazy unique shade that was taken out of like maybe one of her huge palettes that is so hard to afford. I do like this color story. I like we have some lighter colors here. You could put like a pale peach on the lid and then do one of those pinky toppers with just some eyeliner and you have the most simple eye look. You can vamp it up by adding a little bit of this deeper like color to the outer edge, and then you just like went from like fairy looking to like a really, really deep going out look. So I do think I can get a lot of use out of this. I think this color right here is going to be something spectacular and I can't wait to see the swatch of it. So I'm game. So obviously I'm gonna make up my mind and say I'm picking this up, but you guys knew that already because I have to pick up everything Natasha releases this year. So I would have gotten it anyways. But if this was a year that I wasn't buying everything Natasha, I would pick this up anyways because I like this color story. I will say that this is not what I thought retro would look like. This does look to me more like a Valentine's palette. Some of you guys have told me that you thought that this would have been more of a Valentine's. And I guess it's just what we thought in our heads, you know, like what would retro really look like? We don't know. I mean, obviously it's the designer, the creator who knows what retro would look like. We just all created retro in our minds, and we thought retro was going to have green because we saw this and we thought it would be an extension of it. But yeah, this is, you know, I think that they could probably go together, but I don't know, this looked to me like what I thought Zendo was gonna look like, not really retro. I'm still holding out for that green palette from Natasha. So anyways, that's all I have for my Make Up Your Mind. I did pick up the palette. Leave me your comments down below. Talk with your friends down below. What are you guys thinking? Are you guys kind of excited for this color story? Are you not really into it? Leave your comments down below. Talk with your friends in the comment section. Yeah, and I believe this palette will be up this week, so keep your eyes, keep your ears, turn your notifications on, because Midi Retro is coming and I will have it up as soon as it arrives. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.